What's up, Middle School Embassy? Hey, so I've got some good news for you. We were supposed to end Embassy for the school year on April 5th. That's when we were all still meeting together before all of this quarantine thing started up. Um, we hate that idea, actually. We didn't like it then. We don't like it now. So we're going to give you guys another 5 weeks of Middle School Embassy. It's still going to be online. It's still going to be through YouTube premieres, but it's 5 more weeks of content, which means 5 more weeks of opportunity for you to grow closer to Jesus and for us to connect together. And we're really, really excited about that. So tonight, Jake's going to be starting off a brand new series for us called The Big Picture. It's going to be looking at the life of Joseph from the book of Genesis. It's going to be a really great series, and I'm excited to learn and grow through it with you guys. We're having our YouTube Live chat premiere party thing happening right over here, so make sure that you let us know right here in the comments what's going on and like what's jumping out to you throughout the sermon and all of those types of things. Also, any prayer requests or concerns that you may have, this is a great place to put those. Also, don't forget that the small group discussion questions are in the video description below. I would encourage you guys to walk through those with your family when all of this, when this video is over. I've got one more announcement for you, and for all the good news that we just had, a little bit of bad news for you. Our mission trip to Oklahoma City through Next Step Ministries has been canceled. It was not our decision. Next Step Ministries canceled every single trip that they're doing for the entire summer. And so we don't know quite what our mission trips are going to look like this summer or what we're going to be doing, but we will do something. It will probably be something here local, but stay tuned for that. And we'll let you know when we have something figured out. We love you guys a lot. We hope that you haven't killed your siblings yet, which is funny because that's what this message is about. And so let's get to it with Jake. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
What's up, middle school? I am so excited to be with you guys tonight. I'm so excited to start this new series. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know this COVID stuff has just been crazy, but we're just trying to do our best to reach you guys with the message of Jesus. So how many of you guys have heard the phrase, bigger picture? Have you ever thought about exactly what that means? Most people, when they talk about the bigger picture, they're talking about that there's more to the story than we can actually see. And sometimes in our lives, it's hard to see the bigger picture. Take this video, for example. Currently, I'm wearing my glasses that I just got brand new. My hair's washed. I'm wearing my nice new shirt. Things look good, right? But things are obviously not good. You can see that things are kind of a little bit awkward now because Shane realizes he's in the frame, and now he's going to walk off. But it's okay. You didn't see the bigger picture. See, when it comes to so many things in our own lives, we have a tendency to focus only on one small part of what's happening. We don't always pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes. We tend to look at just one circumstance or one event or one detail and think about the way it's impacting us right now. But when we do that, we miss out on everything else that's happening around us. There's so much more that we might not just see. We're missing the bigger picture. Now, I think this actually happens in a lot of different areas in our lives, but the one we're going to talk about today is our families. I know our families may be different from each other, but I think no matter what, we can all agree on this. When it comes to our families, we tend to think that we are the main character in the story. Whether we realize it or not, I think a lot of us expect that at least in our families, the world should revolve around us. While we might not do it intentionally, I think that most of us walk into the room and we say, hey, I'm the one who should get all the attention. I actually think that I am actually the center of the universe. Think about it, right? We'd way rather have everyone be on our schedule of staying up late and sleeping until 3 p.m. We'd love to come home and not vegetables be on the table, but Pizza Hut and Taco Bell and McDonald's with Cheetos dust crusted all over it. We want what we want. In fact, we even expect our parents to spend money on us that is not our money, on things like Fortnite or sneakers or concert tickets, because those are the things that we want. See, basically, without even realizing it, our actions say to our families that we want them to focus first on how we feel, what we need, and what they can do to make our life look like the way we want it to look. So now maybe things in your family are a little bit different. Maybe all the attention is actually on you. Your parents are all up in your business. They want to know every single detail about your life. Your grades are the most important things to them. Your feelings are the topic of every conversation. And the things that you are doing, your activities, are the top priority. It's all about what you're doing, how you're feeling, and what you're thinking. And honestly, I think most of us probably think that it's too much. Your family's driving you crazy with all these questions, these conversations, and attention. And listen, I get it. That does sound like a lot. But can I just point out one thing to you guys tonight? See, in this case, you too are looking at what's happening in your family in a way that's all about you. You're noticing only how the attention is impacting you. You're not necessarily thinking about your parents' intentions. See, whether we're the center of attention or we want all the attention in our families, we're not seeing the bigger picture. We're not seeing that there may be a lot more happening in our homes than we are seeing. Maybe we're too young, or we don't understand it yet, or things we don't know about. But there are things that are happening in your families, in your siblings, and your parents' lives that are impacting them in ways that you might not understand, which then makes them treat you the way that they do. Or maybe we're not even seeing the bigger picture of our own actions. That's the way we view ourselves and treat our families. And by doing that, we do negatively impact them. But here's the deal, guys. Missing that bigger picture can cause a lot of frustration and hurt within our families. So here's the thing. These types of tricky family dynamics have actually been around for centuries, for so long. And in fact, there's some crazy family stories in the Bible. And tonight, we're actually going to be talking about Joseph, a guy who found himself in a pretty crazy family situation. See, Joseph was actually one of the youngest sons of a man named Jacob. And Joseph had a lot of other brothers, like 11 to be exact. So we're talking a pretty big family here. Now, Joseph's family probably didn't look like yours, but there's one thing that is true with families then and now. And that's that relationships in them can be tricky. So that being said, let's take a look at what made some of the relationships in Joseph's family so tricky. So we're going to be reading from Genesis 37, 3 through 4. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a kind word to him. So basically, Jacob looked to all of his other children, and he said to them, look, Jacob, I love Joseph way more than all of you guys. I would rather give him a brand new Camaro and tell you to drive the old minivan that your mom has had for years. He's obviously treating the other siblings in unfair ways. Could you see how this might bring some tension into the family? See, what happened next only makes things worse. So let's take a look. See, one night, Joseph had a dream. And when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. Joseph said to them, "Listen to this dream. We were out in the field, tying up bundles of grain. But then suddenly my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine." This is Genesis 37, 5 through 7. And if this sounds a little weird to you, it's because it is. Basically, Joseph had a dream where he and his brothers were working out in a field, and suddenly the bundle of grain that Joseph was working on stood up. And the bundles of grain that his brothers were tying, they responded. But how did they respond? They came up and they bowed down to Joseph's bundle. So he was actually a symbol implying that one day Joseph's brothers would bow down to him. So now here's the thing. If our sibling came up to us and they were like, "Hey, we had this crazy dream," we'd probably just roll our eyes and move on because it's a dream after all. See, but in this culture, in Joseph's culture, dreams were actually more of a bigger deal. See, this culture actually believed that dreams were predictions of the future. So when Joseph shared his dreams about his brothers, they actually believed that it was going to happen. And this passage tells us, hearing that made Joseph's brothers hate him all the more. And what's worse is that in the next few verses, Joseph actually went on to share another dream. And this time there were stars and moons and suns bowing down to worship him. So as you can probably guess, his brothers got even more irritated about hearing this second dream. But what do dreams and all this family drama have to do with us? I think what we can learn from this story is that when we can't see the bigger picture, we should remember the impact we have on our families. Now, Scripture doesn't tell us how everyone in Joseph's family was exactly thinking or feeling, but we can get a pretty good guess by looking at their actions. It seems like everyone, Joseph, his brothers, and even his dad, didn't notice how their actions affected others. You could say they were missing the major self-awareness that we are looking for, and they definitely didn't see the bigger picture. See, all that combined caused a lot of conflict. See, think about it. Jacob loved his son Joseph so more that he treated him differently than all of the other brothers. Jacob didn't see the bigger picture, that he was causing a lot of tension between him and his other sons. See, Joseph's brothers, where they weren't aware of how their strong and harsh responses to Joseph actually impacted him. Even though they were reacting to the hurt that was caused by their dad's favoritism of Joseph, it didn't mean to be negatively affecting Joseph. They didn't know that they were negatively affecting Joseph. And even Joseph struggled in the self-awareness department. He knew his brothers were jealous of the way that their father loved him and favored him. But still, Joseph came to them and shared not only one, but two dreams about how great and powerful he would be one day. He didn't see the bigger picture of how sharing those things might hurt his brothers even more. See, everybody in this story was missing the bigger picture. They weren't paying attention to how they were negatively affecting their own family members. And honestly, I think that's true for a lot of us. I think that a lot of the family tension and stress we experience is because of this reason. See, typically, no one is trying to be self-centered. We're simply trying to make sure that our needs are going to get met. We're trying to make sure that the things that we want to happen will happen. We're not trying to hurt anyone else. In fact, we're honestly not thinking about anyone else. And friends, that's the problem. Because when we only think about ourselves, we miss the bigger picture. We miss the way our actions impact others. Now, maybe you feel like everyone else in your family isn't paying attention to how their actions impact you. Maybe your mom lied to you, or maybe your dad left you, or maybe your sibling is continually hurting you and not getting consequences because of that. And to you, I say this. There's probably more going on in their stories than you realize. Someone probably hurt them, and now they're reacting in their own pain. But does that make what they did to you okay? Absolutely not. And friends, I encourage you to talk to someone you trust if you're being hurt or misharmed in some way. But it can help us see the bigger picture when it comes to the way that we feel about them. Friends, here's the point for tonight. When you can't see the bigger picture, remember the impact you have on your family. So many of us are hyper aware of the way our family affects us, but we're rarely aware of how we affect them. See, that's what happened with Joseph's story, and look how that turned out. We'll see through the next couple of weeks that things aren't really going to be good, and they might actually get worse before they get better. So instead of letting this story happen to our own families, we can flip the way that we see things that are happening. We can work on becoming more aware of how our words, our actions, and our behaviors impact our families. Friends, when you can't see the bigger picture, remember how you are affecting your family. So what does this actually look like? How do we start seeing the bigger picture when it comes to how our actions impact our families? I think there's a couple of things we can do, and one of those is to just simply be aware. I think we have to work on developing accurate views of ourselves. We have to be aware of how our actions impact others. Friends, start by asking yourself, how is the way I'm acting affecting my family? How can I put my family first? What do I need to give up or put aside for my family? How can I show love to my family? What can I do to put my family's needs before my own? Listen, paying attention to how our actions affect others is hard. It's not always easy for us to see the way we're impacting others. And if you aren't sure, I think you should ask someone that is close to you and that can give you honest help. Whether that's a small group leader, a parent, or a sibling, go to someone who knows you well and will speak truth and love to you. Ask them to help you see something that maybe you can't see on your own. Another thing I think you should do is take a step. Take one step to change that thing in yourself or to be more aware of the way that it impacts others. Then choose a different response. Maybe you always speak harsher to your younger sibling, and maybe you need to start practicing and recognizing that tone and trying to correct that tone with them. Maybe you leave your clothes or your dishes or maybe even your school stuff all around the house, and you maybe need to start thinking about how you aren't seeing all these things everywhere. You're not self-aware of how messy you can actually be. Or maybe you need to control your temper instead of blowing up at your family when you're tired or frustrated or mad. So whatever it is, friends, I want you to stop and think about what you're doing and how it affects others. Look at how you're impacting the bigger picture and make a move to change it for the better. So friends, remember, when you can't see the bigger picture, remember the impact you have on your family. So friends, as we move into doing small group questions now with your families, I ask that you think about this question that I'm about to ask before you start with your family. And that's, what's one way that I might be causing conflict or tension in my family? Friends, I am so glad that you are joining with us tonight. This message means so much to me, and I hope it means so much to you. I think it's really relevant with what's going on in our lives right now, with being stuck in a house with our families. We're all used to going to school and our parents going to work, and we're not used to being so close and so confined together. I think it's a beautiful time for us to learn how to be together, to learn how to love each other, and to remember the impact we have on our families. Friends, I love you, and I will see you soon.